The next item is item number 5, application for an advisory report in the Borough of Brooklyn, docket number 15-3427, block 139, lot 1, 209 Joralemon Street in the Borough Hall Skyscraper Historic District, a bluestone sidewalk paving installed circa 1987 adjacent to Brooklyn Borough Hall, a Greek Revival style civic building designed by Gamaliel King and built in 1845 to 48, with alterations by Vincent Griffith and Stoughton in 1898. And this is an application to replace paving.
This is an application for work at Columbus Park, which is a plaza and park space located just north of Brooklyn Borough Hall. The project scope includes the replacement of the paving throughout Columbus Park. However, a small portion of the proposal is under the jurisdiction of the Commission, which is the area immediately around Brooklyn Borough Hall, which is located within the boundaries of the Borough Hall Skyscraper Historic District. The sidewalk within the project area is currently bluestone, installed in the 1980s, and the Parks Department is proposing a granite paver. And Eric Mattis from Parks is going to run through the proposal.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carly.
Yeah.
As Carly just stated, my name is Eric Mattis. I'm the Brooklyn Landscape Design Director for Capital Project at New York City Parks. So quickly, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of the fact that this presentation is going to give you a lot of context in regard to the rest of the work that we're doing outside of the historic district. So first you can see the project location is Columbus Park, which is bounded by Johnson Street above, Cadman Plaza West, Court Street, Joralemon Street, and Adams Street. Going through a little bit of the pavement history for the site, as you can see, when Brooklyn Borough Hall was first built, it had a large landscaped area in front of it. Subsequent to its being built, or shortly thereafter, paving was added, and we believe at this point this is bluestone pavement that was added within the triangular space in front of Borough Hall. So again, from this photo, and just take note of this photo because we're going to be discussing this paving pattern. It's a little bit difficult. It may be a little bit easier to read in some of the printouts that you have in front of you. But the paving pattern here we feel was a simplified version of what you currently see out at Borough Hall, which is a random coursed ashlar bluestone pavement pattern. In 1888, the plaza was redesigned, but still the configuration was the same, the triangular space. Again, some additional views. Actually, this one you can see the bluestone pavement pattern a little bit closer here, and also in this photo here. In the 1920s, the space was, the pavement was replaced with concrete in front of Borough Hall. So you can see some images with the concrete pavement, another image from 1954. And then just a little bit of some of the site plan history. So in 1959, there was a massive construction project and reconfiguration of Cadman Plaza West. And you can see the configuration of the historic triangular space in front of Borough Hall was modified quite significantly, as was the rest of Columbus Park. And at this time, you should note, and you'll see in the subsequent pictures, that it was essentially asphalt block pavement, along with the accent of bluestone flags that you can see on the perimeter here of these planting beds. So in 1987, what's currently around Borough Hall was installed, which is this random coursed ashlar pavement, bluestone pavement. And then in 1994, the Parks Department came in and actually restored the original configuration around Brooklyn Borough Hall, brought back that triangular space. And there was a significant reconstruction project that was done. They brought back the original cast iron tiered fountain that was there back in the 1870s.
What year was that?
This was in 1994. This is just the northern portion of Columbus Park. So now getting to the nitty-gritty, the historic district boundaries. As you can see here, this is Borough Hall, And the boundaries essentially are along Court Street and Joralemon Street.
Okay.
So that's the portion of the project. This is our overall project, and you can see what lies within the historic district. So our project limits, you can see, are outlined in yellow. So this is essentially the area that we intend to replace the existing bluestone pavement with granite pavement. Brief overview of the inventory out at the site, which you'll see programmatically has impacted the pavement and how the pavement has degraded over the years. Essentially, the important thing to note is that this is the old Fulton Street corridor that was brought back. Actually, this corridor right here was brought back in 1994.
Ask you a question. How
Sure.
thick are those existing?
And actually, I'm going to get to that. Actually, I have some existing site photos, and then I'll go through each, the layer of how the pavement's set up right now. So again, these are some contextual pictures. These are actually looking. This is the Brooklyn Supreme Court Plaza, looking back towards the Beecher Monument in Johnson Street. So this is outside the historic district. This is actually looking from the Beecher Monument down the central mall to the cast iron tiered fountain and naturally the facade of Borough Hall as the terminus. This is the front of Borough Hall currently with that random coursed ashlar pavement that I keep talking about. This is actually Old Fulton Street right here looking towards the front steps of Borough Hall. These are from the steps down to the plaza space in front of Borough Hall. And now this is the, so this is the first photograph. These are the existing conditions within the historic district. So this is actually the corner of Joralemon Street and Court Street.
Nobody's tripping.
They're in the skyscraper district. Otherwise,
We didn't have our live action cam out there to take note of that. So in any event, you can see here again that we have all of this degradation happening with the pavement. But and this is within the historic district, just beyond it. So the historic district ends right about here.
This is all the 94 installation.
This is actually the 1987 installation. The 1994 installation, as I'll go over, the pavement was installed, the thickness was a little bit different. Again, this is another view from Joralemon Street back towards the back of Borough Hall.
That's all historic.
That's, within the historic district. And then this is just outside of the historic district. This is actually access for Borough Hall, a little bit of parking along the edge of Borough Hall. And this is the Judges parking lot in the old Fulton Street corridor. Again, this is outside of the historic district. So going back to these two patterns that we currently have out there. So here you can see this pattern that was installed in 1987, and that's the random coursed ashlar. And then everything else throughout Columbus Park were the 3x5 bluestone pavers that were in a running bond pattern. So taking a look at these installations, so the 3x5 running bond pattern, as you can see, it was a 2-inch thick bluestone. Again, this is outside of the historic district, but just to give you some context, it was a 2-inch thick bluestone pavement with a thermal finish that was set on a mortar setting bed, a 2-inch mortar setting bed, and a 6-inch thick reinforced concrete pavement. Now, what's within the historic district, the random coursed ashlar, actually we believe it was a natural cleft finish with a split bottom. So that actually had a varying thickness, and we believe it led to more degradation than what you see actually from the bluestone that was installed in 1994. So the programmatic impacts that we have a large farmers market. The access to large trucks are along Cadman Plaza West and Court Street. The front of Borough Hall is actually constantly utilized by film crews, so there are large film trucks out there. And then we also, again, within the historic district, the primary damage is the fact that sometimes trucks and or cars cut the corner of that pavement. So the pedestrian curb ramps have some additional damage. And while I'm on this slide, one of the important things to note in terms of the way the bluestone degrades is what we've noted is the fact that the maintenance on this site is primarily done by snowplows in the winter. And ultimately what you'll see, and the same thing happens in City Hall Park in Lower Manhattan, which we're going to use as a reference, as you'll see. What happens is as soon as you start to nick the corners of the bluestone, it starts the delamination process. And actually, brand new bluestone was installed for a new, I think it's a courthouse building across Johnson Street, just a couple of months ago. And already, because of the dire winter straits we were in, there's already signs of nicking, and the delamination process begins as soon as that happens. So it's very unfortunate, because we prefer bluestone, but unfortunately, it just does not hold up as well as granite. So again, here's the farmer's market, some of the parking that you see along Borough Hall. And then, again, looking at the damage inventory and some of the photos that we've already shown you. So our schematic paving plan, what we propose is really a simplified random coursed paving pattern. What we have out there currently is a little bit more erratic in terms of the sizing. So by coursed, we'd like to keep a continuum of a 2-foot coursing and then alternate the lengths of the actual paver stones. And we feel that this pattern better reflects the pattern that's shown in that 1870s photo of the former paving around Borough Hall. So the overall plan, so again, this was actually presented to PDC. PDC had provided us with some commentary, and in their opinion, they felt that outlining, really making it configured in a true triangle to reflect the history of that site was what they preferred. So essentially, within that historic triangle is where we're including that random coursed patterning. And then outside of that, we would continue to utilize the 3x5 running bond pattern that was originally set as a precedent in 1994.
Okay.
Just taking a closer look so that you can see the way the patterning would look. So again, these are the limits of the historic district. So everything within here, this is the intent in terms of the way the patterning would be reflected.
But this is granite now, not,
And this would be
it's
granite.
all granite.
Correct.
Not bluestone.
Correct. And the granite that we're proposing is a 3-inch thick jet mist granite. This is this. That's what you'll see out here. I can pass it around
Yeah,
if you're
sure.
okay with it. Would
Yeah.
you like me to pass it around?
Pass it, sure, just hand it over there.
It's a little heavy. Here you go. So essentially, that's the same granite that's used around City Hall Park in Lower Manhattan, with the exception that the finish, we found out that there were some finish issues, and we felt that we needed to improve upon that. So that's not a thermal finish, that's considered a Diamond 10 finish, which is a little bit of an upgrade from a thermal finish. They wash it with water, so it provides more slip resistance.
And it will be 3 inches thick.
It will be 3 inches thick on a 2-inch mortar setting bed on a 6-inch thick reinforced concrete base.
See, that can withstand the trucks?
We feel it can. If you look around City Hall Park, which we're going to use as our case study, so to say, you'll notice that, yes, over the years, I actually worked on that project way back, and the granite has cracked, but when granite cracks, it just simply cracks. It doesn't start delaminating, it doesn't separate so much, it doesn't really represent so much of a tripping hazard. So that's why we felt it was appropriate. In addition, as you all know, in Lower Manhattan and parts of Brooklyn as well, the granite pavement was used in sidewalks, traditionally and historically.
Okay.
City Hall Park get the truck traffic?
City Hall Park gets truck traffic, probably not as much traffic as we get here. I'm sorry, John, you mentioned the color of the bluestone. The color, the jetness versus the bluestone. Yeah, well, yeah, I think I did. Well, the jetness, the reason we're specifying the jetness granite is because we feel it's the closest in coloration as a match to
Yeah.
the bluestone. So
Okay.
I apologize.
And at City Hall, is it a 3-inch thickness?
With the granite, it's City Hall, it's
Yeah.
2 inches thick.
Oh, it's 2 inches.
So we're
okay.
increasing the
It's even
thickness as
better.
well.
Right.
Okay.
So the proposed site
Yeah.
materials you saw there, the only thing I didn't mention is that the contrasting color that's required for the pedestrian curb ramps, where we have to have the raised domes, which you'll see in this detail right here, this is what we'd like to use as the contrasting color. So this would only be installed within this, the rest would be the jet mist granite sample that you
Required
see.
to be a contrasting color?
It is, in order to be ADA compliant for the visually impaired. It's a DOT standard. And I think that's it.
Okay, further questions?
Yeah,
Yes.
I just had a question about, you didn't, in looking at the whole, project, did you consider any location within the envelope where it might be appropriate to have some bluestone border or something of that nature?
Yeah, we initially had that discussion naturally because it's also a lot of bluestone to be removing. So the current, thought is obviously that we don't have sufficient funding, so some of the bluestone is going to remain. In particular, there's like 2 wings that are directly in front of the Brooklyn Supreme Court building. If I go back to the plan quickly. So you can see these will remain bluestone for the indefinite future. I don't know how quickly we're going to be able to acquire that much additional funding to redo the rest of it. But the thought process was, it's heavily influenced by the fact that there are several lawsuits. And this project, we're trying to expedite it as much as possible.
Yep.
As you can imagine, because Brooklyn Supreme Court building is right here, there's judges walking across this all of the time. And in their opinion, from everything that they've seen and the history of bluestone used throughout the city versus granite, they just feel it's a wiser choice. So yes, we were very concerned about actually eliminating the bluestone, but we felt because of all of the lawsuits, we just didn't think that it would look
Yeah, I
like the
was
Parks
just looking
Department's.
for, an area where perhaps there wasn't that kind of traffic and it would be possible. It has to make sense in the design, obviously, so.
Correct, and unfortunately, it's heavily, there's heavy pedestrian flow across Adams Street here that goes throughout the park. In addition to the fact that we also have, as I said before, we've got the trucks primarily coming in here, they also come in here, and then invariably, there's gonna be removable bollards here, they come up there as well.
Thank you.
Okay, lest we should act promptly, because before the next, the next lawsuit, I think it's all, let's see, do we have testimony on this? Judy? No? Okay. And the community board, I believe, has approved, and although we don't have the actual letter, but
Community Board 2 actually approved this on
Fine.
The 12th.
in of this
February
month?
12th.
February 12th, that's what I thought. Okay, so this is an advisory report, and I believe that you presented a credible, appropriate plan. Fred?
Well, from the point of view of a person who's been traipsing across these acres for 42 years now, mostly to admire one of the country's greatest Greek Revival public buildings, but partly just to buy stuff on weekends at the farmer's market and whatever else. It's a major crossroad. For the past many years, it's been almost inexplicable how this failure of the bluestone sidewalks have been allowed to remain so long. I always wondered why lawsuits weren't prompting a faster removal and redoing it. And I guess we've learned an awful lot about bluestone in the meantime, how to lay it, how thick it should be, and so forth. The city's built famously of bluestone sidewalks, and there's some great examples. I think the greatest of all is in front of St. Thomas Church. Frankly, that's my favorite, 53rd and 5th Avenue in Manhattan. But look at those bluestones sometimes to understand why that works and this can't work. The slabs are half as large as this table. God knows how thick they are. And I think they were laid at a time before motor vehicles, so it's amazing that it's there, but it's gorgeous. And we just can't replace these things with little pieces of bluestone that you might have in a backyard patio. So what's being proposed here, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. It was really thorough and elegantly presented, and I think the problems very clearly are shown, and I totally sign on to the solution. I think it's a very wise and appropriate solution. The color, it has to be granite, can't be bluestone in my judgment. And the color is very effective, I think, as a substitute.
Libby?
I agree, and I think a key here is the history of many different materials that have been used here in support to the change of the material, and also the retention of the triangular aspect of this site.
Michael?
I have to say that I lament the loss of bluestone in the city and the loss of industry for the bluestone folks, but, and I know you weren't responsible for the 2-inch pavers being laid down, but that was complete insanity. And the Neanderthal maintenance techniques also that seem to be involved here certainly point to granite being the material of choice, because just the fact that it has a compressive strength, twice that of sandstone, I think it's an appropriate use here.
Michael?
I agree. Nice presentation, very clear, and
Okay,
totally appropriate.
as always from this group. Marjorie?
Yeah, I agree with all the comments, especially the quality of the presentation, and also that it's sort of almost counterintuitive as a pedestrian that the size of those pavers was actually something that was original to the site. And you sort of more would think of it being cobble or something on that scale. So I really appreciate that the proposal is trying to maintain the scale of the pavers that was originally there and then address the challenges of the materials.
Yeah, I agree with other commissioners' comments, and, I think that the case has been well made for the replacement in this case.
I think it was a very educational proposal. I feel like a seminar about films and the differences. And I think based on what we've heard here, that this change of material sizes are very appropriate. It's an important thing that probably will be considered for, or should be considered for other projects.
Yep, definitely. Okay, thank you, and we'll close the hearing now and do an advisory report. Fred, if you would, please. Thank you.
In the matter of 209 Joralemon Street in the Borough Hall Skyscraper Historic District, Block 139, Lot 1, the application is to replace paving. I recommend approval of an advisory report, noting that the sidewalk paving material and pattern around Brooklyn Borough Hall and within Columbus Park has been repeatedly changed over time, that the portion of the plaza which is designated and under Landmark Preservation Commission jurisdiction is limited and only a small part of a larger project, and the work will maintain unity of the plaza as a whole. That the existing bluestone paving is non-historic and in a deteriorated condition. Therefore, the removal of the sidewalk material will not eliminate a significant feature of the historic district. That the proposed jet mist granite paving material is evocative of bluestone, the traditional sidewalk paving material in 19th century Brooklyn in terms of its color and flag size. That the paving pattern design is based on the development of the park and is a modern synthesis of multiple paving campaigns, and that the proposed work will enhance the special architectural and historic character of the Borough Hall Skyscraper Historic District.
Second, all in favor? Aye, opposed? Approved. Advisory report.